Welcome back everyone. Today we will be quickly reviewing Marsupilami Hoobadventure, released in November of 2021 for the Switch by Microids and Oculus Studios. If your reaction to that is what the hell is Marsupilami Hoobadventure, well then you're like me. It turns out that Marsupilami originated as a comic book series in Belgium in the 50s before expanding to France and other European countries. It became popular enough briefly in the mid-90s to make a short-lived run on the Disney Channel, which actually ended in a lawsuit involving Disney paying close to $10 million to the owners of the character. This is somewhat important because the popularity of the character during this time led to a 2D platforming game by the same name on the Sega Genesis and Mega Drive in 1996. Well, for some reason, 27 years later, we are getting a sequel to that game, also in the form of a 2D platformer, so let's see how it plays. Despite being a completely unknown entity to, I'm guessing, most of us, Marsupilami feels right at home as a 2D platforming experience. Clearly, the developers were paying attention to games like Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, Rayman Legends, and even a little bit of Crash Bandicoot. This is not a bad thing and allows for anyone to easily pick up and play it, even if it means the game is somewhat short on originality. In Hoobadventure, you will play as one of 3 Marsupilami characters over the course of 30 or so levels in typical modern 2D platforming style, collecting fruit and feathers along the way. The main gimmick being that you can use your super long tail to grab ledges and attack enemies. This is actually different from the 1996 version of the game, which was more about using your tail as a pseudo staircase and bridge to complete puzzles. Anyways, the levels here are very island-heavy thematically, hence the Crash and Donkey Kong vibes. When playing through, the game feels more like Rayman in style though, between the ukulele-inspired music, the various secrets hidden behind trees and other objects, and the way movement and combat is handled. After completing any level, a time trial mode unlocks, which in addition to the hidden feathers you collect, provides some reason to return to past levels. There is also a secret mini bonus level to find, as well as a longer extra level to unlock. At the end of each of the 3 worlds is a boss level that requires you to move quickly with precision in order to defeat the ghosts, which was a welcome, if infrequent, change of pace. Marsupilami, unsurprisingly, is aimed for a younger audience, which can sometimes mean a cash grab video game to go along with it. If you couldn't tell, that is not the case here. The game is polished and enjoyable all around, even if, again, it's intended for a younger crowd. The platforming itself and controls are tight and responsive, the sense of movement feels wonderful, the art direction and characters look lively and at times AAA quality, and even the music is delightfully fitting and well made. The levels aren't as varied perhaps as I may have liked, but what is there works surprisingly well. It's honestly light years ahead of so many terrible games and licensed tie-ins that you'll find, making it almost refreshing to see someone put a little effort into a game marketed towards a younger audience. It's just too bad it's a character that no one really knows, or I think you'd see it become a popular family-friendly game. Also, if you're a bit older like myself, then you can certainly put it on the hard setting, although the game is so generous with giving out lives that it didn't really make as much of a change in difficulty as I initially thought it would. Probably the biggest negative to point out with Marsupilami is that the main game can be completed very quickly, and as enjoyable as it is at times despite not being difficult, that is really a tough sell to some people. If you do factor in all the collectibles and time trial medals, you can run the time up to around 5 or 6 hours or so. The younger crowd will definitely be right at home, but I completely understand if anyone feels that's a bit steep and short on content for the asking price, because well, it kind of is. I wish it maybe had twice as many levels when it was all said and done. However, what is there is surprisingly delightful to play through, especially if you want to try a new 2D platforming game that isn't going to lead to any real frustrations. Marsupilami Hoobadventure scores an appropriately solid 81 for me. Its biggest downfall is that it's over a little bit too soon, but if that's the worst part of the game, then that still makes it something I would recommend at the right price. Also, one of the main reasons I picked up the game is the fact that I could own it physically. So if you're into collecting at all for the Switch, then there is no reason not to add this, especially if you're like me and enjoy owning and playing games that are a bit more unknown and don't mind a game that will ultimately be a more laid-back experience. Let me know in the comments if you happen to pick up this game too and what your own thoughts are on this relatively obscure release. Thanks for watching, everyone.